Pro Wrestling Proverbs, Anthony here, along with my esteemed co-host Logan. How you doing, Logan?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing great. Besides the fact that we kind of got in some Twitter beef recently.
Yeah, we did.
For those of you that don't have the pleasure of following us on Twitter at PW Proverbs,
what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you even listening to this? Why?
You put out some good content.
Well, speaking of Twitter, real quick, we do have a Threads account now. If that means anything to anybody, I decided we should probably make a username before somebody else comes along and steals the name Pro Wrestling Proverbs on Threads.
You wanted to jump on this before Twitter goes down, and we hem and haw about creating a social media, and then it becomes our biggest social media, like Facebook.
Yeah, well, maybe I should have held out on it then.
But we got in some arguments. I mean, normally our Twitter's full of some goofs, some gaffes, some opinions. Darren McCarty mentioned that he liked what we put out there on Twitter. I'm curious which tweet of his he saw, of ours he saw.
Yeah.
But probably wasn't these. It's funny, I guess, to precursor it. We've kind of discussed on here. We wouldn't call you an AEW fanboy, but you do watch a little more than me. Maybe a little more of the ins and outs than I do. I know the superstars, and I know that if there's an interesting news story, I'll read it. But I, as the resident, I guess you'd say, the pessimist, I was even defending their new video game, Fight Forever.
Yeah. So, Vic at Vic8122, we'll throw it out there, posted a bug in the AEW video game. Whatever. So I said, I tweeted this.
What did he say? Imagine paying $60 for this.
Imagine paying for this.
Yeah, just paying in general. Yeah.
So it's not even that crazy of a bug.
I've seen that happen.
They were trying to do a suplex off the top of the ladder, but they glitched through the ladder and then fell into the ring, underneath the ring. So I tweeted out, 2K20 also exists and was developed by a team that was making wrestling games for 7+ years at that point. Most video games are buggy. So a brand new title on a brand new engine by a development team that, granted, made with some wrestling games in the 2000s on a completely different set of hardware and engine, makes their first video game with the AEW moniker, and it has a couple. I'll be honest, this is the only bug I've really seen from this game.
I've seen a couple others, but they're along these same lines. It's nothing egregious. It's not. I remember when, and I think it was 2K20. It might have even been others, where you'd have faces missing.
You know what's not happening with this game? That's at least it's not widely happening. This game isn't just randomly crashing like some of the 2K games would do, and delete your save data. I think it was 2K20. I could be wrong, but I remember. I swear there was a bug that would crash your game, and then you'd lose some of your progress. I knew the 2K22, I believe, in the first week or so, the community creations was bugged a little bit, and if you downloaded too much at once, it would just corrupt your save file.
Well, and the other thing, people bring up how it was, former wrestling developers made this AEW game, but this AEW game wasn't supposed to be like a traditional wrestling game. It was supposed to have arcade elements, as shown by, I saw today on YouTube, they announced the Stadium Stampede Battle Royale mode.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that. 30 wrestlers, last wrestler wins. and you can like ride the horse. You can shoot like it looked like a pyro gun. It's fun. It's crazy arcade fun. That in itself is gonna get me to buy the game. I saw it and I decided I'm like I need it. I don't care about anything else. I want this battle royale mode.
I want to ride the fucking horse.
That's what I told my wife. I'm like, they have the horse. But yeah, it's supposed to be an arcade game. When was the last time? What would you say? The SmackDown versus Raw series, maybe that WWE was truly arcade.
I would guess so. I'd even argue like maybe like the All Stars games or that Battleground game, but even then, like those are completely two different types of games. Like everybody before this game was coming out, like when it first announced, like it's gonna be like the old No Mercy games. It's gonna be, just arcade and fun, and it's not gonna be a sim type game, which it isn't. But now it came out, and people are acting like that's not like 2K, and it's not highly detailed graphics and all this shit. The game's shit, and that's not what you should be basing the game on. And I'm not here saying that the AEW Fight Forever is a like a 9 out of 10 video game. It probably isn't.
It's not.
It's probably close to a 5 or a 6, which is still okay. And which is another thing that I really hate about today's like social media landscape, especially with like kids younger than us, is if something's like a 4 or 5 or a 6 out of 10, like if that's how you would rate it, or like a 3-star out of 5, that it's like average, that's bad. It's like the worst thing ever. Like nothing can just be above average anymore. It either has to be the best thing ever, or it's like the complete shits, which I don't think is fair.
Pointed that out on Twitter. I said, and I forget the exact quote, but I said, I'm sick of you or your social media video game fucking reviewers who the game's either a perfect 100 or it's a 0. I have a YouTube channel I watch called Triple Jump. They used to be on What Culture. They used to have, and they review games, and they won't acknowledge a 0. And the reason they won't acknowledge a 0 is because a 0 means it's completely unplayable. Mm-hmm. They're under the impression, and I'm the same way with my video games and my movies, something that can make it at least, a 1 or a 2. Like, whether it's, there's a couple funny jokes, that actor or that gameplay style is really good in it, too bad the rest of it's trash, things like that. Yeah, I agree. It bugs me that unless it's like a perfect game, which I still think is why we haven't seen a Grand Theft Auto 6. I think Rockstar's afraid to put a game out through this point, and people just shit on it. Oh man, it's been this long and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's never going to be to everyone's
Look what happened
standards.
to Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
Like that game is like from what I know is like fine. Like it's a good game.
It's just not perfect.
They had like that rough opening, which they probably kind of rushed it out. Well, at that point they already delayed it a lot of times. So I don't know. We're a wrestling podcast. We shouldn't get too much into gaming. But that's probably why GTA hasn't really announced a new date, because then they'd probably have to keep pushing it back. I feel like they're not only going to announce it when they know 100% for sure that's going to come out. Because as soon as they, like, I bet you they'll do $1 billion in sales like the first weekend. Because GTA 5 did, and I think GTA 6 more hyped than GTA 5 will be now.
You already brought it up, though. Rushed, and I don't know if you remember this. It was either March or April. Kenny Omega said that the game was getting ready to be released, and some of the developers were like, no, we still have work to do. I think the game got rushed out because of the hype around AEW, which there's no problem with that. That happens with a lot of things. But I think it's one of those, you have to weigh your options. Do you wait the extra year and put out a perfectly polished game and still have people shit on it? Or do you put out a rushed game, add in patches, and eventually people are like, all right, this wasn't too bad. And I don't know, video game critics just, they bug me. And the part that bugs me more is with wrestling games. Like you said, it's going to be just like No Mercy. I have a pretty big retro video game collection.
Yeah.
No Mercy's fine. It's fun. It's a fun romp. There's a lot of creative stuff. And for the time, yes, amazing game. SmackDown and SmackDown 2, it's a fun little game. A lot of creative stuff, especially like create a wrestler, create an arena is what I mean with creative. They're not perfect.
Yeah.
And then someone in the Twitter argument said, "Here comes the pain." So you're telling me that the last good WWE game that you're going to compare this to was from 2003? 20 years ago.
Well,
20 years. How are you comparing? Why? Wait, there's no argument. Yeah, it had a good roster. Yep, you could do a story mode and have a stable with Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, Scott Steiner. Sure, that's fun. Yeah, it was the first one to have Legends. You had the Legion of Doom, and they rode down on the carts. Cool. Yep, it had a lot of creative. Create a taunt, create a superstar, create an arena, create a stable. Just because there's a lot of options doesn't mean it's the end-all be-all game. And this is coming from someone who loves Here Comes the Pain. That's when I'm sitting at home and I'm like, I really want to play a wrestling game. I have 2K18 on my shelf. I have Battlegrounds on my PlayStation 4. I have 2K14 on my PS3 downstairs. I still put in Here Comes the Pain or Shut Your Mouth because of the amount of superstars on them. And it's nostalgic for me. And I think that's what people get lost in is nostalgia. I'm sure if we asked, well, let's say my dad.
Yeah.
My dad's in his 40s. So I'm in my 20s. So Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth is nostalgic for me. I guarantee, and I've done this at work, you ask him what wrestling game he remembers. Remembers the one on the Nintendo, not the WWF one, but the one that has Starman. I think it's just called Pro Wrestling. And he loved it. And there's no problem with that. Nostalgia's fine. People that shit on nostalgia and say you shouldn't have it, you're an idiot. All right, nostalgia helps us compare, helps us grow, but that shouldn't be your end-all be-all. You should be able to look at newer stuff and be like, this is pretty good. Like, he loved Shut Your Mouth, and Here Comes the Pain, too. Side tangent, I got SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 for a holiday one year, Christmas or Easter. He stayed up the night before that I got it and played through the season modes. That way all the legends were unlocked. Like, he likes the newer games, but you still prefer the ones you grew up with. It's like wrestling. We've talked about it with how our generation is always going to be like, oh, Ruthless Aggression was the best.
Yeah.
And how before that, oh, Attitude Era was always the best. Yeah, you can like it, but it doesn't mean it's the best.
You know what's crazy is that we're not getting to the age now where there's kids are like, wow, man, 2008 to 2011 was like the best. Yeah. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's kind of like...
The part that blows my mind is when they talk about TNA and how they're starting to bring up like, oh man, the Aces and Eights era was like the golden age in TNA. And I'll see that online and I want to just be like, have you seen like the beginning, like AJ Styles X Division, Christopher Daniels X Division, Jay Lethal? Have you seen that? Or people be like, oh, Perk Angle is the best Kurt Angle. Have you seen early 2000s Kurt Angle?
To be honest, I think a lot of people that say stuff like that, like the Perk Angle thing, I don't think they actually watched at that time. I think
they saw like the gifts.
Well, there's just this. I don't even know what to call it. It's like a phenomenon, like right now, for like people like for like teenagers. They'll see somebody like on YouTube, maybe somebody like a Brian Zane. Like I'm talking about like wrestling wise, but it goes across like all like forms of media. Like especially like superhero movies and stuff like that. There'd be somebody on YouTube that'll make like an hour and a half long video on a topic, whether good or bad, and then it gets whatever hundreds of thousands of views, but like the opinion that comes from that will get spread out across the internet onto like forums like Reddit and Twitter.
100%.
So, and I think like the term Perk Angle and like the clips that came from that have been shared and spread so much as a good thing, even though in reality wasn't really that good of a thing as a performer.
Zion,
yeah, it was crazy.
if you're listening to this, I know you actually like Perk Angle. We're not targeting you. I want to preface that we're not targeting you. But
Well,
yeah,
it's
no,
just like
I 100%. Well, it's like Jeff Hardy. People either love Jeff Hardy or they're like, oh, he's a monster. He should be in jail because and instead of bringing up all his things, they'll be like, remember that one pay-per-view?
yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, but you know he did other things, right? Like that wasn't his one mess up. But I mean, I 100% agree. People will talk about things on YouTube.
Like it's crazy.
And
Like not just wrestling wise. I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here. Like it seems like every day for like the past like couple weeks or so, I'll pull up YouTube, and every time in my recommended, I don't even know who these channels are. I don't subscribe to them. I never watched them, but I'll get like a 2 hour video essay on why, let's say, like Spider-Man 2 is gonna be a shit game. Like, how can you make a video for 2 hours talking about something that hasn't released yet, or it's something like females in movies are killing the industry or something, and it's like part one, and it's already an hour and a half.
so
These videos have like hundreds of thousands of views, and like I don't know if I'm bringing like wrestling related. Like what's something recent? Like probably AEW Fight Forever or anything AEW related, because it's such like a polarizing topic for some reason.
I know something that ties into it. I've brought it up on here before. How certain wrestlers, it's cool to hate on.
Oh, right.
And they will have the same issues as people that people love. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but like I said, I think it's a little bullshit that people like Goldust and William Regal are held in such high regard because, they overcame their demons. Oh, it was okay that they were drinking. It's okay, they overcame them. But then you have someone like Flair, who he's overcame a lot. He might still drink some, but I'm under the impression, and I've always said this, I've said this with my grandparents themselves, if you've lived long enough, have that drink, eat that steak. You've made it through everything. I don't want you to die eating salads and drinking water.
Yeah.
But because, Goldust, William Regal, it's okay, they did so good. Ooh, Ric Flair though, no. And we've done a whole podcast on this about how certain wrestlers are held in such high regard, and then others who can do the exact same thing are looked down upon, and it's just cool to hate them. And videos will come out about that.
It's not even just like, they're doing X, Y, and Z in their personal life. That's why, they get hated.
It'll be wrestling.
It could be literally just like, we hate this wrestling character.
We hate that cool. LA Knight is taking some. He sounds like The Rock. Yeah. He sounds like Stone Cold, so now we hate him.
Because Kevin Nash put it on this podcast, and now we agree with it.
And the thing is, I read it and I listened to it. He wasn't doing it to be negative. I mean, clearly he said he's a ripoff, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, and I know people have kind of beat this horse to death. And we talked about it on the tribute to him. Superstar Billy Graham influenced Hogan, Ventura, and the look of Scott Steiner.
Well, yeah, literally, who's Kevin Nash kidding, too? Like, there's a lot of people from, his time, especially, and you just named a couple of them, that made they're a living copy and are taking ideas from other people's, wrestling personas and influencing into their own, which is exactly what LA Knight's doing. If he takes, the best of Stone Cold and The Rock and puts his own personal twist on it and makes it his character, he's not copying them. He's not saying, do you smell what LA Knight is cooking? Right?
Well, I don't even think he's copying them because he told Logan Paul where to shove the map. He's just telling it to put it up his ass without saying it, so it's still okay to be on TV. Anyone could say that.
Yeah.
If The Rock would have done it, he would have, like Kevin Nash said, he would have described turning it sideways, lubing that sumbitch up.
Yeah.
Things like that. And plus, and the thing that aggravates me the most about it, for those, I mean, it's been a while since the NWO debuted, um, but I'm sure people saw this on the 1,000 Monday Night War documentaries. The NWO was taken from a stable invading New Japan. The NWO itself was taking ideas from something that already happened.
Yeah.
So it's not like I mean I get it. Yes, Kevin, the Diesel gimmick. I can't come up with any comparisons. The Outsiders gimmick, besides taking the NWO aspect, the Outsiders itself, can't come up with any ideas. But that doesn't mean.
Well, the idea of like an outside force invading like a company or a territory, that's just because they have like a different name that did it a little bit. Like that's essentially the argument we're making for LA Knight. It's like was there somebody back then on what's the like equivalent of a podcast back in the early 90s, like the 90s? Was there like a wrestling radio show on at late night in Canada somewhere? Where like, the Outsiders is just copying this one gimmick from Stampede Wrestling that we used to do. But yeah,
it's rare to find. I mean, and then wrestling fans will stretch so far to get something to connect. Like, yeah, Jade Cargill has a streak. Does that mean she's Goldberg? Or she had a streak. Does that mean she's Goldberg? No. Goldberg didn't create a streak. All right, if people could just open their fucking brains. If you remember, why did Andre and Hogan feud? Because Andre got a small, teeny tiny trophy for being undefeated for 15 years. Why did he feud with Hogan? Because Hogan got this massive trophy for having the heavyweight title for so many years. So clearly there was undefeated streaks before then. Was it real? No, Andre had been defeated before. They just didn't acknowledge it. Did Goldberg actually defeat all those men? I don't think so. That's the thing I liked about Jade Cargill's streak. Is I'm pretty sure her streak was real. Every number was an actual win. It's just things like that, and it just bugs me that people will try and stretch and, this has been done before. Yeah. No shit. It's like listening to family members complain, oh, wow, this movie's already been done before. Why are they remaking it? Well, Hollywood's been around for it's going on 100 years now, like of actual reputable movies. Mm-hmm. Of course things are going to be redone. Because
you go back to the nostalgia factor. People will buy something of a name they already know.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but the one that I'm thinking of now, I've heard a lot of people complain, and again, you said we're a wrestling podcast. They're doing Nosferatu again.
Okay.
They're doing it again because the original came out in the 20s. Black and white. People still watch it. People still love it. So how good can they make it with all this CGI, all this money, all these scores they can put into it? And then if they fuck it up, who cares? We still have the original.
Yeah, plus I think nostalgia's kind of taking a little bit of a hit, especially when it comes to reruns recently. Indiana Jones is flopping right now. The Flash, I think, flopped pretty hard too.
It goes in spurts. It goes in waves. And nostalgia will always be there. And even if this Indiana Jones movie doesn't do good, to tie into what I talked about before, you're always going to have Indiana Jones fans.
Yeah.
And people are going to go, oh man, even though this movie was bad, I have to watch it on marathon because it's the last Indiana Jones movie. God, hope so. Harrison Ford's like 100. He's going to go any day now.
I hope not. He's filming an MCU movie right now. He better fucking finish that.
But it's just like that kind of thing. Like, I know there's a couple Star Wars movies people might not like, but they have to watch them because it's in the sequence of events. It's just like wrestling. Oh, wow, I really don't like this era of wrestling, but I can't skip it because if I skip it, then how do I explain how Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels came to prominence? Ooh, how do I explain Daniel Bryan and CM Punk coming to prominence? I just, and again, to tie it back to the video game thing, unless it's perfect, people don't want to talk about it.
Well, plus, I think wrestling fans in general are very opinionated people, and some of them like their opinions to be negative. There's always something they want to complain about, and then as soon as, even if it's something they like and it finally happens, as soon as that's over, they will fucking be negative on it, and that's exactly
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Yeah, that's what's happening to them. They were literally. I don't think again this. I don't think this is as widespread as like the Fight Forever hate going on right now, but I've seen a lot of people on their Twitter. Could be, and also social media is like a bubble, right? We all live in our own social media bubble, so it's something that we see on our Twitter a lot might not correlate to what like somebody like that's listening will see. But I've been seeing a lot of people saying, "Wow, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens should just drop the titles already. This is what we wanted as undisputed champion." And it is fucking stupid. Like, they're fine champions. This is like people always beg for like the underdog babyface champion to like win.
Then as soon as they win it, they want them to drop it.
Yeah, which
look at Daniel Bryan, not the heavyweight title, because that got cut too short. So everyone in their memory is going to be like, "Oh, it should have lasted longer." But his Intercontinental title, as soon as he won it, they're like, "All right, when's he going to drop it to the next up and comer?" Why?
You should drop it to this guy or this guy.
Get a comeback.
Who's up around that time? Like,
they wanted Cody Rhodes to win it because that's when Stardust. So Dusty had just died, and they wanted him to become Cody again. That was the big one I remember.
I swear it was like some NXT guy that was.
I'm sure it was too. But it bugs me. And another one of those, and I mentioned it before we started, Damian Priest. He had that match with Bad Bunny. They're like, wow, he really carries himself no matter what he's done. And I loved him in Ring of Honor when he was Punishment Martinez. And he comes as Damian Priest. I don't really think he's done anything bad. I'm going to get some hate for saying this. He kind of reminds me of this era's Baron Corbin, where no matter where you plug him in, he does his job.
Yeah.
You never hear him complain, even if he loses a bunch. And then he wins Money in the Bank. But because it's not LA Knight, or it's not Logan Paul, or it's not Ricochet. Oh, wow, why'd he win it? You know why he won it? Because I'm sure Finn Balor's going to eventually beat Seth Rollins. And then Damian Priest will cash in on Finn Balor. And then that'll be a start of a new feud where Finn Balor's pissed off that, oh man, I held the title even less than I did the original time. So now Seth Rollins isn't my enemy, you are. Then Finn Balor can get a whole crew behind him, face the Judgment Day. Boom, writes itself. But no, people don't want that. They don't want long-term anymore. God forbid anything is long-term. They have the shortest attention span, which is why TikTok and Reels is as big as they are, because people can't focus on long-term.
You know what's hilarious? When like WWE does force something long-term down their throats, Bloodline, it's like, oh my god, this is cinema. Jey Uso should win an Oscar.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too. That's, Cody lost at Mania, and I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
Where Cody's probably gonna win at 40.
Supposedly.
And
people already turned on the idea of Cody winning at 40. It's supposed to be Gunther now.
Oh yeah.
Which is fine. Well, I'd be fine with either, to be honest. But anyway.
The thing I've tried to pull it back to is, and again, it goes back to things repeating itself. When Dusty Rhodes chased Ric Flair, he got screwed over and over by the Horsemen. Even the Road Warriors, his tag team partners, turned on him. And then eventually, when he finally won it, it was the biggest thing. Celebration in the ring. That's what Triple H is going for here. Why have Cody come back, overcome an injury, win the Rumble, win Mania, then what?
People would already be soured on him as champion right now.
100%.
He would not have made it to June before people started being bored with him. I guarantee it.
No.
And I know
that's what happened to AEW.
Yeah.
That's why he started that smug gimmick. because no matter what he did, people are like, oh, he's just forcing it. The man booked himself to lose a match to where he can never challenge for the fucking title. And they're still, oh, he's booking himself in a good position. He can never win the title. The only way he could win a title is if he did like I said in the Logan scripture, where he challenged for the NWA title. The contract said AWA championship, not NWA. That's beside the point. No, like we said, no matter what people do, I can't wait for LA Knight to finally win what he's supposed to. They're gonna sour on the guy. Remember how big people run on Austin Theory? Oh, he's overcame working with Vince.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing this. He's doing this. And now this is the most boring.
Where's his fans
US
at now?
title. They did that with Dean Ambrose. Oh, he needs to win. Oh, this is the most boring U.S. title. Now, like Dominic, I'm scared for Dominic because everyone's on him. Oh, he's the best heel. He has the most heat. He is so good. So I see it as he's going to somehow cost Rhea Ripley the title. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know who. Not going to get into it. Not a scripture episode. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to lead to a Dominic Rhea Ripley WrestleMania match, first Intergender Mania match. And Rhea Ripley's going to have so much pent up anger, she's going to just fucking run through him. Then he's going to slowly build himself up as a babyface. And by the time he wins a secondary title, or maybe he reconnects with Ray, wins a tag title, they're going to boo him. Because no matter what, which is why I'm glad Cesaro never won the big one. I'm glad Ziggler hasn't had another big one. I'm glad Ryder didn't win a big one. Because they would have been turned on so fast. Because wrestling fans are fickle. I don't like a lot of the things Daniel Bryan Danielson does. But I will 100% agree until the day I die. Wrestling fans are some of the worst fans in the history of ever. They can't let anyone be at the top. As soon as they reach the top, they're like, oh, wow. Why'd we cheer him? Oh, let's go to the next one. And it just bugs the shit out of me. They haven't done it to Becky Lynch yet. Truly, they haven't done it yet. But that's going to come.
Yeah.
They've already done it to Charlotte. They're doing it to Owens and Zayn now. They're going to do it to Gunther. If Biggie didn't get hurt, they would have done it to Biggie. And I don't care. And I know wrestling fans know this. I know in the back of your heads, you know this. You're never truly happy. Ever. The last time a wrestling fan was happy was when Stone Cold held that fucking title. Like, honestly, any other time, maybe they had a little bit of nostalgia when Hogan won the Undisputed title in 2002. Maybe they had a little bit of nostalgia when Ric Flair had the Intercontinental title. But besides that, they haven't been happy since.
That's a good thought experiment. When was the last time? Well, I won't even say 100%. I would say like 90% of wrestling fans were truly all in agreement with something like being good.
Maybe The Rock winning the title in 2002 from Taker at Vengeance in Detroit. Maybe Brock beating Rock.
I'm trying to think of something recent.
Cena beating JBL. Daniel Bryan got a lot of cheers. Maybe Daniel Bryan winning the title.
Yeah, maybe 30. WrestleMania 30. This seemed to be, maybe even Kofi. Kofi winning.
I mean, as much as they don't want to admit it, maybe Roman Reigns beating the shit out of Bray Wyatt and taking the title. I don't know though.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm glad Sami Zayn didn't win the title. They'd have turned on him, and I don't think his little heart could have handled it.
No, he's sensitive. We don't want to. We love Sami Zayn.
You know who I don't love?
Steve
Now
Carrier.
get this out of the way. Steve Carrier, and I'm sorry, Dad, Ryback.
Well, to be honest, I'm kind of on Ryback's side on this.
Oh, I'm on Ryback's side on this, but I still don't like him.
For all I care, both of them could be launched into the fucking sun right now. For all I care, but
they could take a submarine trip.
Yeah. What's that company called? Let's call them up and see if they can.
Subway.
Sure. Send them a trip down to Was it the
But,
Titanic?
I didn't realize. So I knew Ryback hated a lot of people after he left WWE. I didn't realize Ringside News was one of them, and good for you, Ryback, because we hate them too.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
You might see us retweet something from them or share something, but it's because they're the first to break news. But I only share it if it makes sense.
Well, to be honest, I haven't, at least from ours, I have not shared anything from them. I don't even think we follow them anymore. I think I might have got rid of them.
They might have blocked us when we called out Steve Carrier.
I don't even know. I hope so. Because I've been wanting to do like a Steve Carrier, like pro LGBT shirt. But
the Ryback thing is a little frustrating because he blames all social media. I get blaming WWE for shutting him down because they wanted his trademark. I could see them doing that. But to blame Twitter, like, oh man, you're making it where people can't see me. Yeah, I'm sure Twitter and WWE are working together, Ryback. I'm sure. Yeah, you're right. Everyone's against Ryback. Everyone's against Mr. Ryan Reeves. To tie it into our last part, I think if he would have beat Punk for the title, he'd have been booed the next night on Raw.
I would have booed him. I was a big Punk mark at the time. Still am, I guess. But well, anyway, for people that haven't heard, this is a I don't even want to say like a developing news story or anything, or even newsworthy.
It's already happened. Yeah, it's not newsworthy. It's just some fun to read on Twitter when you're on the toilet.
So Ryback tweeted out, for those of you that are still not blocked by Ryback, both of us do not fall into that category. I think both of us are blocked by Ryback. Is your personal account blocked by Ryback? Because I know mine and our podcast page are blocked by Ryback.
I don't think I am.
I don't know why our podcast page is blocked by Ryback.
We've done a couple memes about him. I remember when I was doing the Squid Game meme. I did one about Ryback.
Oh, that's
I don't remember what it was, but plus there's a couple of times you responded to him dumb as fuck. So
I swore I did that on my personal page though. Anyway, he tweeted out, "When you read dirt sheets, you're letting the opinions of mentally sick people like this." A picture of Steve Carrier's mugshot, by the way. Like this with their hate and negativity become yours. This is what an owner of one looks like, and they push their pains and insecurities into the world with clickbait headlines and out of context details, along with their negative opinions. This guy is 1 to 2 steps away from being a quote chase, and you're watching his meltdown in real time. Keep fucking around, you're going to find out real quick just how serious what you're doing is. And then I don't know what he's exactly referring to because, like I said, we are all blocked by Ryback. I don't know. But I see a Ringside News tweet that says, Ryback won't have us on because my first question would be why he's hiring sex workers to promote his shitty white label product.
Oh, so he talked about, because Ryback's been trying to talk to anyone. He wanted to talk to Booker T on a podcast. I forget which other WWE linked people he tried. He wanted to talk to them because, you know, he's trying to come back into wrestling, and he pretty much burned the WWE bridge. I've noticed Tony Khan won't reach out to anyone that WWE already has a burnt bridge with because he's smarter than that. So that just leaves, like, Impact, which, you know, Ryback thinks he's too big for. So he wanted to talk to people. He wanted to have I want a discussion. You know, everyone that's always fucked up, they want a discussion. And yeah, Ringside News responded and said they'd talk with him, and he started calling them, you know, untrustworthy liars. And now here we are.
I am not sure. I see something from Ringside News saying that Ryback is going to jail. Doxing is illegal. He's going to find out in the next hour.
I saw that, I'll say at my place of work, too. And I started scrolling to try and find what they were talking about, and I couldn't find anything. Like, I didn't see, unless he did it on a live, which if you dox someone on a live, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But like you said, unless something comes out and Ryback is just a complete dick, we're going to support him versus Ringside News. We've talked about Ringside News on here before. Steve Carrier, awful human being. They get rid of him, they might be, at least like a D-level news source. Ryback is just trying to get back into wrestling. I think he's hoping that with Vince gone and Cody in WWE, that maybe he can fit in there. I think he's just waited too long. I know he keeps saying, I had to heal up, I had to get ready. He left in what? 2015?
Around there, I think even... I don't know.
Because the last thing I remember him doing of note was the pre-show stopper. And we were in sophomore year of college in the dorm. That's when our buddy got about New Bath. So it had to be 2015-ish. I think he's waited too long. I don't think wrestling is like it was, where you can disappear for 20 years like the Ultimate Warrior and come back and be popular. I think you kind of have to keep a fan base, and Ryback's fans are a little crazy, but they're not consistent. Does that mean he can't come back? No, I think there's a chance. Does that mean he's going to get the Goldberg match he wants? 100% no. I think there's a better chance of Goldberg retiring against Bret Hart than there is of Goldberg retiring against Ryback.
Alright. Ryback posted a link to his latest podcast episode. The People's Podcast.
Okay.
That's the name of the title, The Ryback Show. And then the thumbnail of it is Stephen Carrier's mugshot with the word loser written across his forehead. And a bottle of Old Crow whiskey or something.
Ryback, you still got it.
You still got it. Oh. And so that tweet I just read you came from the one about the long one from Ryback about Steve Carrier came from at Pro Wrestling and MMA News. He quote tweeted it saying 7+ years of pushing out lies and negative reports. I will own each and every one of you who do this at some point or another. You have zero respect for wrestlers and you push your shit mindset and behavior onto good fans, turn them against the men and women who have the courage to do this. You never could, and it eats you alive. So you report trash and try to get back at those who did what you couldn't. Steve, you're a fucking loser, and the world can see it now. Stop letting these pieces of shit make you hate what you should love. Respect and report the facts only. Leave your goddamn mark opinions and clickbait BS out of it. And then we get a report from the Matt Cardona saying, feed me more.
I don't know why this memory just came back, but on one of the 2K games, I put Ryback, Miz, Ziggler, and is that it? Oh, Curtis Axel as not the Four Horsemen, but a mid-card version of it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. That's all we can ask for them, right?
Yeah, because at the time of this recording, Ringside News, you are stupid.
Stupid. You know who else is stupid?
Who?
Dirty Dutch Mantel. Because he thinks he's the only one that can use the word dirty.
Yeah, so we talked about this beforehand. So just to give a little bit of little precursor again. Dirty Dutch Mantel is upset that they're calling Dominic Mysterio Dirty Dom, Dirty Dom, Dirty Dominic, whatever the fuck you want to call him. And someone said, Dirty Dick Murdoch used to call himself Dirty before you did. Well, in Puerto Rico, he christened me Dirty Dutch Mantel. All right. There's a difference between Dirty and, say, the Nature Boy. Mm-hmm. Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers gave it to Buddy Landell and Ric Flair, respectively. The word dirty, do you know how many fucking indie workers are probably calling themselves dirty, insert name here?
Do you know how many of those fans in the crowds at those indie shows are dirty?
Yeah, because they didn't get our deodorant at StarCast.
They did not.
But, Yeah, it just bugs me. Old people like this that feel like they have to be relevant by. He's the same one who I'm not going to get too much into it on here. He questioned CM Punk bringing up the transgender kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you know he's an asshole anyway. But yeah, oh, I own dirty. No, you don't. You're not. So he was Dirty Dutch Mantel. He was he's a good hand. He was in WCW. He's in Smoky Mountain. He's in Puerto Rico a lot. That's the thing that bugs me too. He's more upset about this dirty thing than he seemed to be on the dark side of the ring when they talked about Berger Brody. Like, your friend was stabbed to death, and you're showing no emotion, but on Twitter you're like, oh man, this kid's using the word dirty. Fuck you, Dutch. The only thing dirty about him was his hair.
Damn.
But it's just one of those things where after Dutch Mantel, he became Uncle Zeb, which slowly morphed into what was his name in WWE as the manager? Zeb Coulter. It was supposed to be one and the same. That's the other thing too. You want to talk about Punk using the trans kid thing, and if it's good for business. I remember sitting at my ex's house as you and Jack Swagger appeared on CNN because you did We the People. And I had to explain to my ex's dad that, yeah, it's a character. Guess what, Zeb/Dutch? I look like a fucking idiot because it's clearly not a character.
You know what's funny?
What?
He's not even the original Dutch Mantel.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
No, there's a wrestler. Granted, it's a little before his time even. We're talking like late 1800s, early 1900s. The guy died in 41. But people
too angry.
But people are bringing it up. There was a professional wrestler. He named himself Dutch Mantel, but he was born Alfred Albert Joe de la Gardier. It's French. But his wrestling name was Dutch Mantel.
So it's funny, just looking at his Wikipedia real fast. The greatest notoriety for Mantel arrived in 1979. You're telling me this man's had this long of a career and his greatest notoriety arrived in 79? Granted, and like I said, I don't want to take away from his wrestling. He was a good hand. He really was. I like some of his matches. It just bugs me. He thinks he can own the word dirty. And like I said, you know, if someone on the indie circuit can call themselves the Nature Boy or the Heartbreak Kid or the Dead Man, sure, Flair, Michaels, Taker could get upset about it. The word dirty. Don't they call bad guys dirty in the video games?
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Motherfucker.
So
and all he does is sit on his podcast and try and become relevant again. And it's not an issue of where some fans say Bischoff tries to become relevant again, or Jim Ross tries to become relevant again. They are legends. Until it's not. He's one of those where he's called a legend because he's never going in the Hall of Fame, and they don't have another word to call him.
You don't think he's gonna put in the?
No.
You don't think so?
No, not unless Dutch Mantel goes in, because nobody gave a shit about Zeb Coulter or Uncle Zebediah. The only fun memory I have of Zeb Coulter, and you'll have to back me up on this, because if not, I sound like a liar. When John Cena did the Open Challenge, I listed everyone on a mini fridge I had by my bed at college of who could accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And for giggles, I said, wouldn't it be funny if Alberto Del Rio accepted? Because, he's Mexican, accepting the U.S. Open Challenge.
Uh-huh.
And he did it. And fucking Zeb Coulter managed him. That's the only thing of note that Zeb Coulter ever did.
Yeah, that happened.
And it wasn't even a friend, though.
You
It was
had
me
we had you had
laughing and cackling. I circled his name. I remember that when it happened, I circled it and I fell back laughing. The list of people like Jeff, it could have been Jeff Hardy. There's just a list. And Del Rio, I'm like, yeah, wouldn't it be funny because he's Mexican? It's the U.S. challenge. And that was the one where both like, nah, that couldn't happen. He slapped someone in catering.
Well, I'm pretty sure he was like the last one, like on your on the fridge too.
Oh yeah, because I kept erasing because I remember Jeff Hardy was a possibility, and then he showed up at Impact, and I'm like, fuck, all right, I guess not it. Yeah. That's the only thing of note. And like I said, again, Dutch Mantel, good hand. I'm not going to take anything away from that. But Dolph Ziggler's also a good hand, and in 50 years, nobody's going to remember Dolph. Sorry, I love the guy. No one's going to remember him.
I'm not gonna say nothing about Dolph. You know, we love Dolph.
I love Dolph, but I feel like in 50 years, with all these fickle fans, no one's gonna remember him. Yeah, how do you think you can own the word dirty?
You know what he could own?
What?
If he was really this great guy that he says he is, he could own the brand new PWP men's bomber jacket.
I'm telling you, next week when I get that bigger check, I'm gonna buy one. Granted, it's July in Michigan, so I'm not gonna be able to wear it till probably because I bought it. We're not gonna have a winter until like February. Yeah, but that's okay.
Well, we have the pocket tee that you could also get too.
I want that jacket.
For those of you that are on the job site, you wear your Carhartt shirt. And then when you get home, you can use your PWP logo shot glass to drink the pain away from your current job and write yourself a nice little letter in the PWP Logan scriptures.
Those scriptures, highest selling item on the shop.
Yeah.
And I will say, and I think I said this on the last one, when we started these items, I had to do some editing, had to look at Printify. The koozies might not have been perfect. The scripture journal might not have been perfect. Now that, we've had a couple sales, especially, again, Andy from Windley Mania, we got to shout out. We got to thank you for being one of the first.
The very first.
Yeah, the very first. He even beat us.
30 minutes after the shop went live, he was. I got an email and it was like, "Oh, you placed an order." And I was like, "Who's this?" And it was like, "Andy from South Carolina." I was like, I know that guy.
He gave some feedback, and I was able to go through and edit them, and the journals look good. We no longer have products shipping from outside of the U.S., which I guess is a big thing for some people. We also, everything's lined up well. We've got stickers. You mentioned the shot glasses, the bomber, the pocket tees. We've got hats. We've got pins. I like to think of it, I've had family members ask me, like, hey, why did you select these certain items? Mm-hmm. I like to think that this is the merch table items.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you want to help us out, we even have signed 8x10s. I mean, who wouldn't want a signed 8x10 from two guys that you randomly found while scrolling through Spotify and or YouTube?
Yeah, if you're a long-time listener and you want to support financially, not be a little broke bitch.
I don't know if I'd say it like that, but yeah. I know what you're saying.
If you want to put the money where your mouth is and support the show.
There we go.
This is the way to do it.
If you don't want to be a Dutch Mantel or a Steve Carrier.
Yeah. Or if you are money's tight, inflation, Bidenomics or whatever they're calling it nowadays.
God, I moved into my house about 3-ish years ago. I remember we could go on our big grocery trip and spend like 180 to 200. Now that's like our small grocery trip, and every time I'm like, what happened? And you know what I realized happened? Inflation.
But don't worry, the PWP products Etsy shop is not subject to inflation. So, like I said,
No.
if you like, do you need to have like part of your grocery order this week? No, you can survive. Like, you'll look cool and skinny in your new PWP T-shirt and bomber jacket. So, honestly, it's a win-win.
And these would be items that, as we start appearing at more cons, maybe we'll have them with us.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, you don't have to buy. You don't. We're not going to be one of those that's like, if you don't, we're going to shut down the channel. Clearly, we've done this for a solid year and a half without anything purchased. It's just one of those things. We decided we've heard from a couple people that think it'd be fun. We had our own T-shirts. We put them on social media, and there was many comments. When are we getting a T-shirt? Well, here's your chance.
Yeah, and if you are like a poor virgin Mark and you can't afford the PWP logo shop, price as low as $275. By the way, you can only...
I thought that was high at first. I looked at other shops. Apparently, that's quite low.
Yeah, we're the lowest shop in town. You can even get like a pin. A lot of people like pins. Those are low as $450. So get on that. And if you somehow still can't afford that because you need to go get your Starbucks coffee tomorrow morning, all right, we do have a link tree with all of our social medias in it. Like I said, we just signed up for what's that one? Well, I just said it was Threads. Threads, the meta Twitter now. So we're on that. So you can go and follow us on all our social medias and share it. And that's just as good as paper currency almost. So
almost. I think you meant to say almost.
Yeah.
MVP superstar almost.
Being almost sapien. And yeah, just don't be a poor Lamar. Support the shop.
Don't be a Ringside News subscriber.
Yeah, we don't like those.
But I mean, I think we tackled everything we wanted to today. Make sure you're following our socials so that way you can see what cons or what things we're going to be doing next. We're going to be a really cool Comic-Con. We're also we don't have passes, so we're not going to be an invited guest, but we're going to be at WrestleCon same weekend. We have Battle of the Creek in September.
Yep.
And I think this PWP convention tour has been pretty successful this year, if I do say so myself. Between Great Lakes Con, Astronomicon 6, Astronomicon 6.5, and now the really cool con. Plus, as we mentioned before, I went to Squared Circle Con. We're going to WrestleCon. That's 6 right there. For two people who created a podcast out of spite of a university that wouldn't hire them for wrestling podcasts, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, you didn't even mention our pizza, the PWP Pickle Pizza.
PWP Pickle Pizza. That's right, Torminas. We loved it. We'd love to work with you again.
I think they should just rename it the PWP Pickle Pizza.
The PW Pickle Pizza.
Yeah. So again, if you're looking at Michigan, which I'm pretty sure majority of the audience is, except for you, Andy, you're down in South Carolina, so you cannot eat this delicious pickle pizza.
We order it and ship it to you.
Yeah, we'll dry freeze it real quick and send it out to you. Go check them out. They have locations all across Southeast Michigan and even as far west as Lansing. So
yeah, I looked at the map earlier today before we recorded. There's a lot of restaurants located in one general area, and then one little Lansing location. So I'm glad it's here. It was delicious. My wife and I loved it. Can't wait to go back. There's a lot of options we want to try between the breads, salads, potatoes, pizzas, desserts. We will definitely be back. Again, thank you for the free pickle pizza. We cannot say enough. And then the other items I got, the s'mores pizza, the jalapeno popper pizza, the cheese bread with that house-made jalapeno ranch. One of my personal favorites. Never would have thought to do it. Now, I'm trying to make my own. Not as good, clearly. But everything we had there,
Yeah, so
delicious.
Again, if you're in one of their 23 Michigan locations, give them an order and then put in there that you heard them from us, so they come out and reach out to
Logan
us.
and Anthony, Wrestling Proverbs.
Yeah, and then also, I can't believe we forgot to mention this. We have a guest coming up soon. I don't think we have we don't have a date yet, but we're gonna have the great Detroit legend Darren McCarty coming on to the show.
Yes, Stanley Cup winner. I gotta say, meeting him, and I'm sure he'll get a laugh at this if he hears this. When we first walked up, and I was like, yeah, I talked to him on Twitter, and I saw his guy talk to him. In my head, I'm like, oh, great. He's gonna pass us off. He doesn't care. One of the better guys I've met, and this isn't just podcast Logan speaking, this is going on, this is 11, 12 years of conventions going, Logan speaking. One of the better guys I've ever talked to. Clearly loves wrestling. And I'm excited to have him on the podcast. Kind of cool. Local Michigan podcast. Get to talk to a Michigan sports legend. What a fitting first guest for the cast.
Yes, we're excited to have him on. We're currently talking with him, trying to get a date settled down. He is a very busy guy, as you can tell. He's active on Woodward Sports. He's working with
that, and he's going to be at Slamversary.
Yeah,
he's going to be a special ref.
Working with Impact, and I think,
watch.
And he's always doing things with the Red Wings still. I think he was just at the draft party, so it's hard to get a date where all three of us are available. So that should be coming out within the next month or so. And then be on the lookout for the upcoming Randy Savage deep dive podcast. That'll be a one where I think a lot of you guys will like. And remember to use Savage 10 at checkout on the Etsy shop. You get yourself a little discount. So I think
work with me with the bomber jacket?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
You can use a coupon code in your own shop, Logan.
Yeah, I'm not made of money. What am I, Bill Gates?
Well, you are a podcast host. You know our podcast hosts are rich. I didn't just have to work my ass off like all day today and then immediately come home and do this to pay rent.
No way.
Oh. All right, I think we rambled on too long now. we tried ending this podcast like 10 minutes ago.
That's okay though. To everyone listening, again, we appreciate you. We see that we're slowly growing. I can honestly say we're past a point that I thought we'd ever get to.
So this is all free. This is like house money now. We can do whatever we want, and it's awesome.
Yeah,